everyone at CDLE. Welcome to Live Wire, our podcast where we are building community across our agency. There's so much great work happening in CDLE's divisions, offices, and affinity groups, and this is where we'll be showcasing the impact each of you have on Coloradans we serve. This podcast series is brought to you by the creative team in the Office of Government Policy and Public Relations with our host, Deputy Executive Director and Chief Communications Officer, Ms. Cher Havin.
Welcome back to Livewire. I am so excited for this episode. One of my dear friends is joining us in studio, Lauren Furman. Thanks for being here.
Oh.
I'm like tickled pink because not only are you one of the most influential women in Colorado business, you were a longtime friend of mine, and we'll talk about kind of how we both got started at the same time. As you know, Lauren, we feature guests for Livewire that are influential and stories that we can share with our CDLE community inside and outside of CDLE. And I'm especially excited to have you here today for a number of reasons. Not only are you my longtime friend, but you are one of the most influential women in business in Colorado. And I can't wait to just kind of get into how you came to be in your position. Of course, we have the ever popular rapid fire segment, which I want everyone to know, even though you're my friend, I did not give you a hint about rapid fire, but a little bit about Lauren. She was named by the Denver Post most influential women among the list of some of our influential women in business and Denver Business Journal's top business newsmaker. You're also the first woman president of the Colorado Chamber. On and on and on, all the things that you've done. And a little known fact to our CDLE community, you and I met when you were here in this building at 633 17th Street working for DPA. So let's just start there. Tell us a little bit about how you got started in your career. Talk about your time with DPA, and then we have some just other fun questions for you.
Well, thank you, Cher. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, and I'm humbled. That's quite an introduction. It's really interesting and surreal to be here. You know, almost 2 decades ago, I started my career in Colorado. In this same building, 2006, and where I met you. And I've always admired the work that you've done here for the department and your leadership and the way that you've just been able to handle really tough issues. I clearly remember how you confronted COVID challenges. That was something that nobody else had dealt with before. And you just took it on head on and with a smile on your face. And I just really admire the leadership that you've shown here at the department. And of course, as a dear friend, appreciate your friendship.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Again, you know, coming here, very surreal. I truly started my career over. I reinvented myself here in Colorado after 17 years of working in state politics in Florida, in the Florida legislature. And so I feel very honored to be in the role that I am now at running the State Chamber of Commerce. I believe is the strongest business voice for the state of Colorado and businesses throughout the state. But getting here was a lot of work and a lot of perseverance to be where I am now. But it was many years of time twisting arms of legislators, both in the Florida legislature and here in Colorado. And so I really, truly believe, you know, as politics have changed over the years, and you've seen it as well, change pretty dramatically since 2006, that I still believe there is value in finding common ground, which we have done on many policy issues over the years, finding a way to work through policy issues, even if we don't agree on what those are. And that goes for interest groups across the state. And I think that's where we at the Colorado Chamber, and me personally, that's the value that I find in working in this profession and what I think the value is of the Colorado Chamber, and just really proud of that work over the years.
As you should be.
Oh.
And that reminds me, there were a number of policy issues where you and I were on opposite sides. And I think there's no better indicator of the ability to build coalitions and bring people to consensus than when you can sit across from your friend and say, let's agree to disagree, but how do we reach a compromise? And that's really how you make good policy. And I think that's one great partnership that this department has had with the business community, the worker advocate community. And it really shows that as regulators and as a very large agency, we're doing good by, agreeing that we can reach that compromise and do what's in the best interest of the constituents in Colorado. So I thank you for that partnership over the years. Are you now doing what you thought you would do when you grew up?
No, absolutely not. I think my parents are more in shock than I am.
Yeah.
I was a mediocre kid. Grades were not great throughout high school and college. I enjoyed college a lot. Took me a while to get through college.
And I'm sorry, did you go to Florida State?
I did go to Florida State.
Okay,
I started my first 2 years at Tallahassee Community College and then finished out at Florida State. But no, never expected to get to where I am now, and just very humbled by the opportunity. But it took a lot of hard work. It really did. And, I scratched and clawed my way, but I think I demonstrated that it's what you need to serve in a role like this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I have an incredible team that supports me and supports the vision that we have at the Colorado Chamber.
Yeah, you do such a great job.
Oh, thank you.
What's one of the biggest challenges and lessons you've learned in your career?
I would say coming into this role, as I spent almost 20 some odd years doing what I thought I knew how to do really, really well. I stepped into a role, was chosen for this role, and had never run an organization before. So personal challenges were trying to prove myself, making sure I could do the job. And that took quite a bit of work to get to a point where we were developing a vision and a long-term plan for the organization, something I had never done before. First thing I did was call every state chamber woman CEO across the nation and ask them, how did they do their job? And they gave me terrific advice. I leaned on a lot of people to come to this place where I am now. But those were big challenges for me. Another big challenge was trying to reteach myself how to talk to people. When you work in politics for as long as I have, you get a very hard shell around you and you become somewhat insensitive to other people's needs. So I had to learn how to talk to staff, how to build a team, how to make sure that they trusted me and I trusted them, and how to work together and how to talk to each other and learn what their needs were and how to respond to them. Mm-hmm. And so that was a huge challenge. I worked with an executive coach that I think was the best decision I ever made, and how to be a leader, and still use a lot of the tips that she shared with me to make sure I'm effective.
Well, you are effective. I will say, going again back in the day when you and I first met, I also entered into a position where I was the only woman in a boardroom. And so that is an experience, unless you've been in that experience, that it's hard to imagine a way out of that, finding your voice and finding your strength. And I think, it is International Women's History Month. And so these lessons of kind of growing and learning and expanding and stretching yourself to be able to meet those challenges are such important lessons. Regardless of where you are in life, regardless of your background, and just as an individual person, it's important to know what you can accomplish if you really put your mind to it, lean on others who've been there before.
Absolutely.
Let's see. So what are you most proud of in your career?
I took two huge risks. The first one, leaving a state where I had grown up, I had worked for the majority of my life, and started over and took a leap of faith and came to Colorado to reinvent myself and start my career all over. When you work in politics, it's very challenging. And so I had to reestablish myself, build credibility for myself, build relationships after almost 17 years of working in politics in Florida. Mm-hmm. That was one. The second one is truly walking into this role that I'm in right now. Big risk, because again, I knew how to work at the legislature and lobby and do all those things that's required, almost second nature. but I needed to push myself. I was ready for the next step, just like what you shared. It's you have, and this is what I try to mentor other women to do, is think bigger. Be a visionary. Try to think of what is next in your career versus continuing to do the same thing you're doing over and over again. Because you may do that very well, but that doesn't mean that you can't do something even more exceptionally than what you're doing now.
And that kind of addressed my last question about advice you would have for emerging, young women leaders. I think you really are a success story, and we're so fortunate to have you leading our business community. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Other advice, one thing I always say is don't do the things that got you to this position now. There are things you should be thinking about as a visionary, thinking bigger. Try to delegate some of those tasks that you did to get you where you are now, and make sure that you lean on the folks that could do it just as well or maybe better than you. Mm-hmm. Don't be uncertain in what you're selling. Make sure you sell it with conviction and confidence, and that's where you'll build trust with other people. And I think women have a hard time sometimes in doing that. And so I just want to really press upon folks that are listening, especially women who want to be in leadership or are leaders, is believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing with confidence. And other people will buy that.
Girl power.
Girl power.
All right, Lauren, we're on to the next very exciting part of the show. Okay, Lauren, rapid fire.
Here we go.
Ready? And I did not hint at all to these questions. Although I mentioned to you earlier, I know some of the answers already just because I know you so well. But let's just get right into it. If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go?
If I could teleport anywhere, where would I go? I grew up in Key West, Florida. So it's still near and dear to my heart. It's a tiny little island that I grew up on, and I would go back.
Sounds lovely. First thing you do in the morning?
Look at my phone, which is a huge mistake.
Stop that.
Should not do that.
Last thing you do at night?
I read my Kindle.
Oh, okay. Good.
I try to distract myself because I have a hard time sleeping if I don't.
Yeah, very good. If you could have dinner with any notable woman in history, dead or alive, who would that be?
Barbara Streisand.
Favorite local restaurant?
Oh, that's the hardest one.
We can come back to that one.
Okay.
Best office snack?
Espresso. I do have an espresso machine in my office, so that is kind of my snack.
Scariest thing you've ever done?
Move from another state.
For sure. Explore space or the ocean?
Ocean.
Desert island food?
Desert island.
If you could only have one thing for the rest of your life.
Pizza.
And then favorite local restaurant?
It's got to be an Italian. Venice.
Okay. We visit some of the hot spots around town, but I agree. Venice is a good one. Been here a long time too. Well, that's it, Lauren.
Thanks for having me.
We loved having you. Thanks for all you do for the state. It's always good to see you. And thank you for your partnership for all over the years, all that you've done for, this department in particular, and helped us really make sound policy that benefits Colorado. We really appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. And
Thank you.
very much appreciate the partnership.
Thank you. That's it for Livewire. If you have, again, any ideas, I always want to turn the cameras on the crew. If only everyone could see what I see. This team is a team of rock stars. Thanks, guys. Production crew, thanks to Lauren. If y'all will see, we have a new studio. We're always going to change up the studio and see who can notice what's new in the background. Keep your ideas for future guests coming. We do have a special guest next month. I won't even say who it's going to be because it's that special. And then just happy to have everybody here. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see y'all next time. Yay! Good job.
Thank you.
Sure. How wind? How wind? How wind? How wind? How wind?
Avind.
How wind?
Yes.